Okay, good evening, everyone. Council just met in closed session. I'll now look to the clerk to provide a report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, council met in closed session pursuant to Municipal Act exemptions and received a confidential update on a security matter.
Thank you. At this time, I'll ask everyone to please stand for the national anthem. Okay, we would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples, acknowledging the One Bowl and Spoon Treaty. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest tonight? Councilor Wainfleet?
I will be exiting for PSR 010/2025.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, so tonight we have a special presentation. At this time, I'd like to call upon Ruby and Silas Dimback, our first place winners in their age category for the 2025 Mayor's Greeting Card Contest. So please come up to the front and receive your plaques, and we're going to take a little picture and show the appreciation for your work. If you want to come up here to the west side, you can get through, or they'll go through that. Where are they? All right, so we're going to move into the announcements. So please note that the meeting proceedings are being broadcast live, recorded, and made available through the Township website and YouTube.com. I'd like to extend a special thank you to our volunteer fire service, whose annual recognition evening last week was interrupted by 2 separate calls for emergency response. This is an amazing demonstration of the level of dedication our firefighters bring to the job and a great example of why, as residents, we sleep better at night knowing the department is on the job. Thank you to the chiefs, officers, and all firefighters for a job well done. Thanks, guys. Okay, please note that our municipal office will close early on Tuesday, December 23rd for the holidays and reopen on Friday, January 2nd, 2026. Our next regular meeting of council is January 20th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. Are there any announcements or remarks from members of council this evening? Councilor Gilmore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be away on the 20th, January 20.
Thank you. Any other announcements or remarks? All right, so we're going to move to the adoption of the previous council minutes. So I have a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held November 18th, 2025, and the special meetings of council held November 24th, 26th, 2025 be adopted as circulated. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Van Fleet, Councilor Gilmore. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we're going to move on to our public meeting. So in accordance with the Planning Act, a public meeting is held to present information regarding the proposed amendment to the public and for council to receive comments from the public. Staff will not make a recommendation and council will not make a decision on the proposed amendment at this evening's public meeting. A planning report will be brought forward by staff and considered by council at a later date. As a member of the public, you are welcome to request to be notified of any future meetings respecting the proposed amendment. Please provide your contact information on the sign-in sheet located at the back of council. Please be advised that the sign-in information will form part of the public record for this application. I will now ask the planner to provide details on the purpose of the proposed amendment and any written comments received.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. So the subject property is located on the north side of Forks Road between Green Road South and Phillips Road and is known municipally as 40562 Forks Road. So the property is designated as prime agricultural area in the Niagara official plan, designated as rural area and environmental conservation area in the township's official plan, and is zoned rural A4 with an environmental conservation overlay under the township zoning bylaw. So the property is the subject of a concurrent consent application to sever Part 1, which is 0.85 hectares, as a surplus farm dwelling. That consent application is scheduled to be heard by the Township's Committee of Adjustment next week at their December hearing. So approval of the zoning bylaw amendment will be requested by staff as a condition of any consent approvals, and this is in order to comply with the policy requirements for a surplus farm dwelling. So this zoning bylaw amendment proposes to rezone Part 1, which is the surplus farm dwelling lot, to a site-specific rural A4-87 zone to permit a maximum accessory building lot coverage of 5.2%, and that's for the existing structures. And then to rezone Part 2, which is the remnant farm parcel, to a site-specific rural A4-188 zone to prohibit dwellings and to permit a minimum lot area of 35.77 hectares. So the existing environmental conservation overlay will remain as mapped for Part 2. In accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act, a notice of public meeting was mailed to property owners within 120 meters of the subject lands, and a public notice board was posted on the property. The application materials were also posted on the township's website and circulated to agencies and township departments for review and comment. As of today, the following comments have been received. So the Township Building, Bylaw, and Operations Departments noted no concerns, and the Drainage Department noted that the property is not assessed to a municipal drain and therefore had no concerns, but did note that if the property owner requires any improved drainage outlet, that Section 4 of the Drainage Act can be utilized. Thank you.
Thank you. So does the applicant wish to provide any comments regarding their application? Okay. All right. Thank you. All right, is there any member of council that has any comments regarding the proposed amendment? Okay, seeing none. Okay, is there anyone else in the gallery that wishes to provide comment on the proposed amendment? Okay. Seeing no further comments, I will now ask Ms. Ivins to review next steps.
So a planning report regarding a complete review of the application will be brought forward by staff and considered by council in January. And I just have some notes regarding appeal rights. So under Bill 185, the Cutting Red Tape to Build More Homes Act 2024 was given royal assent in June of 2024 and restricts third-party appeals. So the Planning Act now states that the applicant, a specified person, a public body, the registered owner of the land, and the minister may appeal the decision of council to the Ontario Land Tribunal, provided that they made oral submissions at a public meeting or written submissions to council before a decision is made. So parties other than those listed above are no longer eligible to file appeals for this application.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. So that concludes the public meeting for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. If you wish to be notified of the decision of council regarding the proposed application, you must make a written request to the planning department. Thank you. Okay, so we have no registered delegations this evening. We also have no items on our consent agenda. So we're going to move to administrative staff reports, memorandum respecting the support for the adoption of a code of conduct for human trafficking prevention. Ms. Louie, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, through the mayor, to all of council. So this memo is an initiative that has been a priority amongst neighboring municipalities and has been a consistent agenda item at the CAO table. So it is just requesting council to endorse a consistent code of conduct for the prevention of human trafficking in the region of Niagara. So it's an initiative that we've kind of been discussing, but we want to just support our neighbors and have one consistent code throughout the region.
Thank you, Ms. Louie. So with that, I have a motion that council formally endorse the Code of Conduct for the Prevention of Human Trafficking in the Niagara region, developed by TOES Niagara and Brock University, and actively support other Niagara region municipalities in their adoption of a Human Trafficking Prevention Code of Conduct. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McCullen and Councilor Wainfleet. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, so now we're going to move to ASR 2025, respecting the 2022 to 2026 Advisory Committee dissolution. Ms. Christina, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to all of council. As council is aware, we're now inside the final year of this term of council. So it's important that our committees are aware of that timeline in which they have to wrap up and fulfill their mandates. So this report is just proposing that committees hold their last meeting either in the month of August or prior to that, and then have an option to present to council in either September or October prior to the municipal election to present on any highlights or accomplishments throughout the term and make recommendations for the following term of council. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So I have a motion that the administrative staff report ASR 2025, respecting the 2022-2026 Advisory Committee dissolution be received, and that council approve the dissolution of all non-statutory advisory committees in August 2026 with the option to present end-of-term reports as outlined in this report. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Gilmore, Councilor McCullen. Any discussion? Seeing none? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, moving on to ASR 2025, respecting the 2026 Consolidated Budget Report. Mr. Hart, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. This report represents the Township of Wainfleet's 2026 Consolidated Budget for council approval. It outlines the recommended operating, infrastructure levy, and capital levy budgets, as well as the full 2026 capital program. The proposed consolidated budget results in a net levy increase of 4.98%. The operating budget reflects a year-over-year increase of $185,000, driven primarily by rising wages and benefits, higher contracted services, material cost inflations, and increased hot patching requirements. The infrastructure levy and capital levy each include an increase of $193,000 to support key infrastructure replacements, including road rehab and other capital projects. Council deliberations held on November 24th and 26th resulted in some budget adjustments, including the reduction of the fire fleet equipment request, deferring of the Church Street Bridge rehab, and adding the CSW Drain 13 culvert replacement project. Overall, the 2026 budget establishes the financial framework for municipal operations and capital investment in the upcoming year. This budget would result in $134 annual increase for the average median assessed home at $307,000. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Hart. So I have a motion that ASR 2025, respecting the 2026 Consolidated Budget Report be received, and that the 2026 operating levy budget as outlined in Appendix A with a net levy budget of $6,937,968, an increase of $185,619 be approved, and that the 2026 infrastructure levy budget as outlined in Appendix A with a levy budget of $815,489, an increase of $193,504 be approved, and that the 2026 capital levy budget, as outlined in Appendix A, with a levy budget of $1,494,349, an increase again of $193,504 be approved, and that the 2026 capital budget, as outlined in Appendix B, with a total capital commitment and recommended funding of $6,107,576 be approved, and that the 2026 consolidated budget, with an overall levy increase of 5.92% less the estimated assessment growth of 0.94% for a net levy increase of 4.98% be approved. It's a mouthful. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McCullen, Councilor Gilmore. Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we're going to move to fire staff reports. FSR 5 2025, respecting the community risk assessment. Chief Alcock, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. The Township's community risk assessment has now been completed as required under Ontario Regulation 37818. This assessment reviews 9 areas of community risk, including demographics, building stock, geography, critical infrastructure, and historical incident data. This work was completed by Emergency Management Group along with the support of staff from Wainfleet Fire and Emergency Services, and the final CRA is summarized in Appendix A, which provides an objective overview of the local risks and will guide upcoming work such as the Master Fire Plan, updates to our establishing and regulating bylaw, and the development of our standards of cover. This document will be used to guide council and staff into determining the appropriate level of fire protection services for the township, which will also help support future asset management planning. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Chief. So I have a motion that the fire staff report FSR 5 2025, respecting the community risk assessment, be received for information. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McCullen? Councilor Anderson? Any discussion? All right. Okay. At that, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, that is carried. Okay, we're moving into planning staff reports. PSR 10 2025, respecting the zoning bylaw amendment file Z06 2025W. Oh, yes. Apologize. Okay. So PSR 10 2025, respecting the zoning bylaw amendment file number Z06 2025W, 43237 Pettit Road, Wainfleet. Ms. Ivins, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
You, Mr. Mayor. So this report provides a review of the applicable planning policies as it relates to the zoning bylaw amendment application for the subject lands. So the property received provisional approval from the Committee of Adjustment for surplus farm dwelling severance. And the application is proposing to rezone Part 2 of the subject property to a site-specific agricultural A2-186 zone to prohibit dwellings and permit a minimum lot area of 6.544 hectares and a minimum lot frontage of 15.18 meters. It's my opinion that the amendment meets the applicable provincial, regional, and township planning policies, and I have recommended that the application be approved, and the implementing bylaw is on tonight's agenda as bylaw number 46. Available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Evans. So I have a motion that the planning staff report PSR 10 2025 be received, and that the zoning bylaw amendment file number Z06 2025W for the lands known municipally as 43237 Pettit Road be approved for the reasons outlined in this report, and that the application be deemed to be consistent with the Provincial Planning Statement 2024 and conform with the Niagara Official Plan and the Township of Wainfleet Official Plan, and that the zoning bylaw amendment attached as Appendix C be adopted. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McCullen? Councilor Gilmore? Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Just going to pause and let Councilor Van Fleet return. All right, so now we're going to move to Public Works staff reports. PWSR 24, 2025, respecting the non-eligible sources recycling collection. Mr. Nan, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. As we're all aware, the recycling collection has changed from a regional and municipal responsibility to a producer's responsibility for collection in 2021. Niagara Region has been providing the non-eligible recycling program, and as of December 31st, 2025, they've decided to no longer provide that service. Non-residential properties, also referred to as non-eligible sources, include commercial properties, institutional properties, places of worship, nonprofit organizations, community facilities, and industrial properties. The Township of Wainfleet facilities are included in the non-eligible sources. Staff received just recently a list of 230 properties from the Region Waste Management Department that are affected across the municipality. And to date, staff have not received any quotes back from the local collection contractors that have been contacted to provide any type of quotes for an individual just for the township services, as well as municipal wide for the non-eligible sources. As the budget deliberations did not include this service, the options are available to council to be considered in the report.
Thank you, Mr. Nan. So I have a motion that PWSR 24, 2025 be received and that council direct the manager of operations to begin an internal recycling program and have staff deliver the recycled material to the Niagara Region's drop-off depots as long as they are made available or a specified recycling facility if the Niagara Region depots cease to operate. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McClellan? Councilor Gilmore? Any discussion? Councilor McClellan, you can go first.
You, Mr. Mayor. Richard, is this something where the town could charge a fee to pick them up or have a drop-off area here? Then we would bail them, get a bailer in. I don't know if it's something we can rent or buy.
Through your worship, as the region only decided in November that at the council meeting that they were no longer going to provide the service, we did reach out to local sources for the collection. We haven't received any quotes back at all for any of the service. As far as charging a fee, I guess that would be a question for our clerk. If it's something under Municipal Act, we can provide that service and charge that fee. Because I know it's a regional program now. It's something we would have to look into.
I'll ask the clerk.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council, I'd have to refer specifically to the table in Section 11 of the Municipal Act, which I don't have before me, but I can investigate that and report back.
Yeah, that would be fine. Thank you. Okay, so it's just, if nobody's going to bid on it, we can't just have it blowing around because you might as well have them drop it here and bundle it, and then we can. There must be a dollar value that it's worth, so at some point you might break even on the thing or maybe make $1, God forbid.
Yeah. Through your worship to Councilor McClellan, we can explore various options. The issue was we've already proceeded through our budget process and we didn't even consider this.
No, I know.
When they closed it. But we can always revisit various options and then come back. I guess the issue becomes is the other thing that they did mention, Waste Management mentioned, is they're currently going to allow us to use the recycling facility for a depot. Mm-hmm. But that may not even be available as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't know where we're going to end up with the entire program. So there's a lot of things we'd have to look into. And again, we've made several phone calls without any callbacks whatsoever for some costing.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I do know of a couple of gentlemen that are trying to start a business, making a business out of this. So I'm sure they all got a short notice at the same time as November, right? So these guys are trying to figure out how to do it. I would think maybe within a year there might be 2 or 3 of them pop up, and right. So this might be just a short-term thing for us. And so.
Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. So since the garbage pickup was a regional contracted service that the region supplied through 2 different, I believe, pickup persons, companies in Wainfleet. since there's been a reduction in that service level, are you aware of any sort of refunding, financing that would come? I mean, they're reducing the service. Taxpayers pay for full garbage pickup, which now has been changed without a solution at this point.
Through your worship, I'm not aware of any discounts or refunding of money for any services that the region provides. We did have lengthy discussions from Public Works officials, and we all anticipate that all the non-eligible sources, because they have garbage pickup, basically going to stop recycling altogether, and it'll be added to their waste collection. So the whole program of recycling is probably going to take a hit, and that's all going to be sent to the landfill, if they don't want to pay for their own collection service.
Truly is. Anyone else? It truly is a disaster. It's been said at the regional level time and time again that this is exactly what's going to happen. And it's been said, as Councillor Anderson asked about reduction in costs. So as it gets brought up to the region, well, the region still has all these landfills that we still own, that we still have to maintain, and they're just saying, oh, no, there's going to be no reduction because now we're required to, the legislation, as they did this, there was a legislation change that required municipalities to carry the insurance or the risk for those landfills for almost double the time now. So now you have to carry this extra fund to ensure that that landfill does not become a contaminated site. It's just one big mistake after another. Go ahead, Councilor Wainfleet.
Here's my question. I don't know which one of you can answer. Why can't we just go back to when we had a landfill on Wills Road and we had one on Station Road, and just the local guy came and picked the garbage up, charged us maybe $6 a week. Had nothing to do with the region back then. Worked well.
Your worship, maybe I'll answer some of that. Those landfills were closed as an order by the ministry, and only approved landfills from that point was able to move forward. So all those landfills were basically capped and are just sitting there now.
Councilor McClellan, go ahead.
So if I can, my understanding of this was the manufacturers were supposed to be paying for the stuff that came from with them. So cardboard is where they're starting at.
Yep.
So how do we collect what the manufacturers are putting out? Everything from Amazon, it doesn't matter how small or how big it is, comes in a cardboard box. It's cardboard. So Amazon is, from my understanding, they are supposed to pay for that. The cardboard that a Barbie doll comes in is supposed to get paid for by Mattel that makes them. So where is this money and who's getting it if the region is not giving us any money? How does this show up? Or does it show up when some independent contractor gets in business and decides he's going to bundle it and he can take it to a site in Cambridge or somewhere that'll take the cardboard and pay you for it? Like, somehow something's not working here, that they said the manufacturers are supposed to be responsible to collect their own recyclable material.
So the way the legislation was written, or the way that it was explained to us, was that it applies to residential, non-commercial sources. So for residents, yep, all fine and dandy, but for commercial entities, anyone that's a business, it doesn't apply. And now all those producers, they are now basically bundled together to form their own group that is now responsible to pay out the contracts for whether it be GFL or Waste Management, whoever's going to be coming around and collecting your waste, right? It's no longer going to be the region's contracts. It's going to be their contracts. And a lot of it is still going to currently go to regional dump sites, right? Like your places just down the road and things like that. But this is just like the beginning rollout, and it's just a disaster for everyone, right? And if we choose to go through it, we can collect commercial, but then there's a cost to collect that, of course, right? With no true savings from this wonderful new program that's supposed to, push the responsibility to producers. It really didn't do anything to help anyone. Go ahead, Councilor Anderson.
Through you, Mayor, I'm going to refer back to your knowledge at the regional level. So I believe that certain amounts of waste collection were actually, what is the proper saying? They made money out of some of the articles that they collected in their recycling. I think the region has made money out of resale or reuse or redistributing some of the collection that they did.
Yeah.
So is that money just still going to sit there even though they're not supplying the service? Because I believe their turnover on their regional collection monies that they made out of recycling some of this at cost to purchase out to other whoever's, they made a reasonable chunk of change doing that.
Yeah, and I honestly, I do believe they're going to continue to do that, and they're still going to sell those products, but that is just going to be an offset on the budget line for continuing to maintain these dump sites. Yeah. Yeah, and again, it's for residential, non-commercials. You know. Councilor Gilmore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, it would have been helpful if we could have had more than 6 weeks' notice from the region, and then a few private enterprise people could have got on the bandwagon sooner, which is where this is going to end. Yep. It's going to end a couple of different ways. Lots of the bigger places, like the one greenhouse that I do a little bit of work for, they already bale their own cardboard. Once a year, I take a tractor-trailer load of it to Etobicoke, and they sell it. Yeah. The little guys are just going to take their recycling from their little small business to their house, and it's still going to get there. It's like when you go to the airport and they want you to take stuff out of your bag because it's too heavy. I just put it on and tell them it's still going. And that's what's going to happen now. So, yeah, it's mind-boggling that we got 6 weeks' notice. But anyway, I'm not surprised.
No. Any other discussion? Want to tell everyone that? I'm just kidding. Okay. All right, so there being no further discussion, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, and that is carried. We're going to move to review of correspondence. So we have one item of correspondence on the agenda for consideration this evening. Correspondence item C 217, respecting the Marshville Heritage Society request for fee reduction. Does any member of council wish to make a motion? Councilor Anderson, go ahead. Oh, Councilor, turn your mic on, please.
There we go. Thank you. Through you, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we assist the Marshville Heritage Society with the request. Thank you.
Okay, and do you have a seconder? Councilor Gilmore, thank you. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, then I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we're going to move into bylaws. We'll start with the third and final reading for the Ellsworth Drain. So I have a motion that bylaw number 36, 2025, being a bylaw to provide for drainage works in the Township of Wainfleet in the region of Niagara to be read a third time and finally enacted on this 9th day of December 2025. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McCullen and Councilor Van Fleet. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, so now I have a motion that bylaw number 46, 2025, being a bylaw pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, to amend zoning bylaw number 34, 2014 of the Corporation of the Township of Wainfleet with respect to those lands forming Concession 4, Part Lot 31 in the Township of Wainfleet and known municipally as 43237 Pettit Road, be read and passed this 9th day of December 2025. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor McClellan, Councilor Gilmore. Any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Oh, you can't. Understood. Opposed? That is carried. Okay, are there any notices of motion this evening? Seeing none, Okay, with that, then, I have a motion that council now move back into closed session to discuss item under section 239-2C of the Municipal Act 2001, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, one item, an acquisition of land matter. And then the minutes of the closed meeting of council held November 18th, 2025. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councilor Anderson and Councilor Gilmore. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So we'll now move into closed.